So once again, some crazy shit is happening in our country from this regime and from this psychopathic lunatic that people worship for some reason. He's now put forth a $1.7 trillion military budget, or whatever you want to call it. And the cuts that he's making across the board to fund this, keep in mind, we're not taking money from the rich to fund this. We're taking money from the working class and the poor and those in need to fund this $1.7 trillion warmonger's budget. And that's what we are going to discuss in this pod today. We're going to dive into it, talk about some of the data behind it, and we're just going to try to make it make sense. So yeah, what do you guys think of this? I mean, the crazy shit that's happened this week, starting off with, going to eliminate civilization, and then Melania's speech, and then this shit come out. It's like the head spinning is unbelievable.
It
I
almost
don't
felt
know.
like Melania's thing was a distraction from the war. Like the Epstein files was that we needed the war in Iran to distract from that. Now, actually, we
Hmm.
need the Epstein files to distract from this disastrous war in Iran that we are not winning.
Right, right. But then this budget came out, and we've been trying, the three of us, we've been trying to find data on it. We've been trying to find, a list of all the cuts, and evidently there's not one out there, but we've done some diving, and we're really good at that. You two are exceptionally good at that, but I have a tendency to be a little bit slower on the internet stuff because, I still struggle with, some technology, but that's just that's just age. So, but we found a lot of data that is just, it's unbelievable. So I don't know what is the worst part of it. I see things that I think are the worst part of it, but I don't know what you two think. I mean, Tabitha, what about the cuts in here bother you the most, or what do you think sticks out the most to you?
Well, the cuts in agriculture are not good, coming from a farming community. So far, what we found is there are 19% cuts in the Department of Agriculture. We've got a 13% cut in the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a 15% decrease to the Health and Human Services Department. That's going to cut also low income heating assistance. I just got an email from a constituent in District 8 talking about what's happening down south with some of the energy bills that they are cranking up. This woman was a 75-year-old woman. She, as well as many other elderly from that area, have had conversations about how are they going to provide for themselves. They've already turned the heat down to 65 and 60. A lot of people that are elderly or young, whenever the temperature changes, be it colder or hotter, can die from the elements. And for us, supposedly living in a first world country, that's a problem. Like we shouldn't have our elderly right now taking on the burden of basically what it seems like are these energy companies, and the data centers are going to make that worse. So, farmers, they're already suffering because of the activity in the Strait of Hormuz, which is basically directly our fault. We're going to have a serious food insecurity problem. I mean, these farmers, they need seed, they need fertilizer to get the crop in the ground. Um, I project we're going to have some serious food scarcity worldwide come harvest time. And, different people harvest at different times, but we're basically talking fall, October, November. It's costing an enormous amount to put in corn or soybeans. Right now, China has shifted to Brazil. They're going to buy soybeans from Brazil. I can't see a future where they're going to start buying from our soybean farmers again. And we're not even getting into the fact that they are cutting the U.S. Forestry Service, and they want to
Hmm.
annex some of our boundary waters to allow copper mines from Argentina to come up and pollute our waters and rivers. I mean, the shit show continues, right?
So is it safe to say that the entire bill or his proposal pisses you off and you're upset with because you covered a lot of bases there? And
Yeah,
we'll try to talk about each one, but
I could ramble on. I was at a debate yesterday and I didn't even scratch the surface. But
Mhm.
when people ask me about how do you feel about nuclear and things of that nature, I'm like, I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody that actually has expertise at this moment. Because right now we're just playing it fast and loose. We don't want to talk to any professionals that have any data. The people that are now currently occupying these seats, they're extractors. They're polluters. They just want access to these places so they can further pollute. And like you said earlier, this has absolutely nothing to do with the American people. Yet the American people are carrying the weight of these taxes and levies and, the future of our water and our food and our air on our own backs. This
Mhm.
1%, they don't give a shit about the American people. So yes, I'm pissed off.
I just also want to say $900 billion is what we currently spend on defense. That we spend 50% of our discretionary budget is allocated towards the military industrial complex and the defense budget. We spend more than 10 nations combined, the next 10 nations combined. So taking that budget from 900 billion to 1.7 trillion, so we're going to what, spend more than the next 15 nations combined? Does that difference, that 5 country difference, really give us the competitive edge on national security that we need? Are we really that much safer in the world spending this much money and taking it from what is actually needed, which, Tabitha already mentioned is infrastructure, it's agriculture, it's housing, it's all of the things which we should absolutely suss out just a little more. But just $1.7 trillion is an obscene amount of fucking money.
Absolutely.
It is also insane to me that it comes from people who claim to be fiscally conservative because
Mhm.
not only is a $1.7 trillion price tag not fiscally conservative by any metric, but also when you start talking about it like on the ground fighting and what is actually being spent, what they're trying to invest in is THAAD missile systems. It's more than just this, but there's Navy ships, there's fighter jets, there's Blackhawks, right? But predominantly right now what they're using are THAAD missiles, and it's to intercept what Iran is using, which are Shahad missiles. They're often called the poor man's cruise missile because one Shahad missile will take $20 to $35,000 to make. $20 to $35,000 to get a THAAD missile to shoot down the poor man's cruise missile takes about 12 to 15 million dollars, billion dollars. I believe it's million. And it takes 2 or 3 of them. You have to shoot 2 or 3 THAADs to hit 1 Shahad missile.
That's
Fiscally
that
conservative, what are we doing? A lot
I
of
didn't
these
know that,
fighter
but
jets
that's
that
yeah,
a lot of
that's
these fighter
absurd.
jets that they're looking into and trying to increase and buy more of and make more, we don't fucking need. When you
Mhm.
listen to some of these people from the military, the leadership, the ex leadership who go on podcasts and things, they will straight up tell you, I can't remember what specific model it is, but there's a specific model that costs like $1 billion fucking dollars, and they did not need it. It literally just sits in the runway. It sits in the airspace because it needs a chip. There's a chip that won't work, a computer chip. They have this high tech paperweight essentially that the American taxpayers keep buying. And the reason we keep buying this machinery and this equipment that people just don't fucking need, we just don't actually need, and a lot of times we don't use, is because it just takes taxpayer dollars away from us and towards these defense contractors like Honeywell and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. And they are just padding their pockets with our money while we just have military surplus. And then this military surplus, what is actually usable, tanks and stuff, trickle down to all of our police departments. In fact, my local police department just spent $1 million. My husband was raving about it because property taxes went up, and we just spent 1.5 million, I think, our local police department on an armored vehicle that I see roaming around in Africa to help deal with the issues in parts of Africa. And we're going to have that rolling around the suburbs of Indiana because military surplus. We constantly have to feed the war machine. And when you constantly are throwing money at a problem, you're going to try to find all kinds of crazy solutions. You're going to try to, like, the Pentagon is famous for buying a $10,000 trash can and then failing an audit. So, like, this is just insane to me.
Well,
Yeah, that,
and
and that's what's bizarre about this budget. And you mentioned, uh, where the military budget of the United States is at. We also have to take a look at the budget of ICE and Homeland Security. And I think it's either now it is third, but it might even be the second largest military. Okay, if you're going to categorize it, budget in the world. I think it passed China. I could be wrong about that, but I know that ICE has a budget that is right up there. It's also
I think
larger
it is the
than,
most funded military in the world, yes. ICE
yeah.
specifically, yep.
not
So,
to mention diplomacy is cheaper. Diplomacy is for human rights. It benefits everyone. It is cheaper. Like, almost every country can get on board with that. If we weren't so busy trying to cage people, enslave people, do bad things to little kids and brown people, we might actually be able to get some traction on having a conversation with other brown people across an ocean.
yeah, but this guy isn't about diplomacy. Diplomacy takes negotiation skills. You have to be able to talk to people and to come up to an agreement. You have to make concessions. This guy's not about that. I mean,
You also have to know the person that you are talking with. You have to know the
yeah,
other
true.
party and get to and learn them, learn their culture, learn where they come from well enough so that you can understand and have conversations. And this man is not capable of learning anything. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I know this is just a tiny bit off, but just tangentially, humor me for a moment. It is funny that the White House has a bunch of little, frat boys, we'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna say something much harsher, running around pumping out all these lame ass memes that they think are so good, right? They are taking our pop culture and they think it is just so good, they're eating up this right wing slop. And then Iran comes in and they absolutely are trashing us in the meme game. Why? Because Iranians know American culture.
Mm-hmm.
Americans are fucking stupid because we
Mm-hmm.
think that we are just the best. And so we don't pay attention. No one else's culture has anything to offer us. Whereas the rest of the world does pay attention. They listen to our music, they watch our shows, they follow American pop culture, media, entertainment, sports. Absolutely. It's a collaborative effort. We don't pay attention though. So when they're pumping out Lego propaganda videos that have a beat that sounds like Eminem, fuck yeah, you're sitting there listening going, okay, shit, we are ruled by the Epstein class. Yeah, I mean, you're not saying anything wrong. And that's disgusting as a feeling to be an American and kind of be like, oh yeah, this propaganda is actually kind of good. This oh fuck. Like you don't want to say that about your own fucking country, but like, damn,
But
we
Iran
are.
right now has made it very clear, though. They constantly put it out that we are not against the American people. We are against the American government. We are trying to show you, Americans, what is actually happening. The restraint it must take from these people. Really. Like, all of the shit talking that the U.S. has been doing, besides the bombs, besides the invasion, just the trash talking, and us meddling in their politics and all of the heinous shit we have been doing since the 1950s, for them still to say out loud, hey, Americans, we don't hate you, we just hate your government. That's significant, and that's really gaining traction with the American public right now.
Yeah, and to comment on a point you made a little bit earlier, Sierra, arrogance is ignorance. So when you walk around beating your chest and calling yourself an alpha male, you're fucking ignorant. That's what it is. And okay, people may not like me saying that across the board, but that's what it is. the most arrogant people that I've ever come across in my life and have shared space with or had conversations with are the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever met. And if that pisses somebody off, I'm sorry. And all of this that's going on, all of this propaganda and all of this, memes and the Lego shit and all of this. In the meantime, this dumbass cuts, I think it's $700 million out of cybersecurity and infrastructure security. So,
Yeah, we're cutting our nose to spite our face.
yeah, I mean, what
Abso-fucking-lutely.
kind of sense does that make?
I don't know
It,
because I mean, the Iranians are showing you more than just their sick ass memes and Lego propaganda, right?
mm-hmm,
They are demonstrating to you they deeply understand our culture. They deeply understand the conversations that we are having. They are paying attention to the online discourse. They are paying attention to our news media. They know what's going on, and they are young. It's a young generation, clearly, and it is one that is well connected to the internet. So to your point, you are going to decrease the budget for cybersecurity when these people are showing you who they are. They're showing you they are more than capable of waging an online war, so to speak. And so you're going to defang our cybersecurity sector. That seems ridiculous to me. But again, the ignorance, the arrogance and the ignorance. Icarus is flying a little too close to the fucking sun because he thought he got away with it with Venezuela. And you just drop some missiles or drop some bombs, rather. Sorry. You just drop some bombs, come in, snag a leader, walk out, and you're done. Game over. I win. And he's finding out that's not how this is done. That's not how this is going to play. You may have killed the leader, but actually, what you did was replace him with his son, who is much more radical than he
exactly.
was. The Ayatollah Khomeini actually wrote a fatwa, which is the it's the highest religious edict. It is a law that says that they will not enrich uranium past the 3.67, I think, needed for civilian use. They are not to do a nuclear bomb. That was written in his religious edict. His son doesn't subscribe to that. So you killed the person who was saying, no, we will work with the international community, and by all metrics were, that was continuing to work with the international community even after we left the JCPOA. You killed that person, and now we have replaced them with someone who is much more radical and much more quick to anger. And I could understand why. I mean, not only did we kill his father, we also killed his wife and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it was a really targeted strike. No, it was a bomb on a house and it killed his wife and daughter. So when you do that, you radicalize people against you. And that is just it's so dangerous. And the fact that we are doing that while also again gutting cybersecurity, this is not smart. This is not smart,
No,
especially when
but
we are
he's not smart.
a hyper online society. Everything, our infrastructure is online. It doesn't take a bomb for them to take us down. They can take us down through our infrastructure.
Or to
They can do
control a
cyber
sector of
attacks.
people in our country.
Exactly. So like this is absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
Well, and the
it
lack of
is.
regulation just in general with AI, it is surprising to
Mm-hmm.
me the conversations I've been able to have with my Republican parents right now. Like, they are even saying there should be regulation for AI. Why isn't there? Because kids are going missing in the US. Now, mind you, the details of that might be a bit skewed because we're not getting real media, right? But the fact remains, whether it is international threats or domestic threats or children that are being victimized, this open AI to do whatever does not benefit anyone, and it certainly does not protect the American people.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, to bring this all together is that we're cutting that much money from cybersecurity at a time when the cyber internet or whatever you want to call it is exploding and increasing at a rate with all of these with AI and all of these other technologies that are coming to the forefront. And it's not only, just the threat of the terrorist or whatever. It's like I said, the fucking propaganda. It's a proven fact that since the 80s, there's been a Russian invasion into what they call ideological subversion planted in the United States, and it targeted conservatives, because they know that that is the mind that can be corrupted the easiest, and that aligns with this kind of bullshit. And we have seen it come to play. So let's just defund that so we don't have to worry about it, you know? I mean, it, it's beyond crazy, but that's who this guy is. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he, I hate saying this, he got a hard on when what happened in Venezuela happened, okay? And so now this is what they're doing. And he's finding out that, well, maybe there's somebody over in the Middle East that's got one bigger than you, bud, and it's going to shove it down your face. And that's what's happening, because we know that what happened in Venezuela isn't what they say happened, because there's not a democracy set in place down in Venezuela. It's a total fucking mess. Of course, he calls himself the president that has the highest polling numbers. Oh my God. I just can't sometimes, man. I just can't. Oh,
Yeah.
I have to
I
step back.
the ignorance, he was too high and mighty. He was riding high and mighty on the success, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
of Venezuela, his
Right.
perceived success of Venezuela. Um, and so when Bibi Netanyahu comes into the White House Situation Room and does an Iran war presentation, and reminds him of how successful his regime change, his air campaign regime change mission was, Trump's like, fuck yeah, you're right. And no other president, I mean, Bibi's just like, yeah, no other president has ever done this. You'd make history. You'd be the first president to ever do. Yeah, even George W. and Dick Cheney were interested in this. That right there should have just told you everything you need to know. Donald Rumsfeld heard of this and went, "No, I have
Mm-hmm.
to go." I
Yeah.
mean, those men have never met a war they didn't love, and
You're right.
they didn't ever want that. They looked at Iran and were like, "No, that's a mistake." That is terrifying, and the fact that we have a president who allows a foreign leader to come into the Situation Room. They wired in Mossad into the White House Situation Room. That is unprecedented in all of American history. There is not another time where we have ever let a foreign national, a foreign leader come into our Situation Room, put their intelligence on screen, their people on screen, and tell our president what we are going to do as Americans.
Yeah,
And
but
we did it.
you but let's look at this guy, okay? He walked across the demilitarized zone and shook hands in his first administration, and shook hands with the North Korean president, or whatever you call, okay? He did that. He saluted a communist general. He released 5,000 Taliban militants. He accepted a war criminal on American soil in Vladimir Putin in Alaska, rolled out the red fucking carpet for him. He brought in
And Netanyahu.
Sharad al-Shari, is that his name? Uh, Brought him to the White House, set him down, uh, and then had Bibi on multiple occasions. But in the Situation Room is the one that's just really bizarre. So that's who this guy is. I mean, we also sent JD Vance, another thing that's going on that we, I wanted to talk a lot about, but so much other shit has gone on. We sent JD Vance campaign for an authoritarian dictator in Hungary, to try to get his ass reelected. So that's who these people are. And let's not forget, they called him the no wars president for years. And this
He
motherfucker is
started or
all,
ended 8 wars or whatever he says. Like, I ended 8 wars.
yeah, wars with countries who weren't even at war with each other. I mean, he just made shit up, but whatever. He could say whatever and his base will believe him, you know. But, when we're talking about the cuts and what Tabitha had, referred to, one of the things that I found to be uh, absolutely alarming, and she talked about the heating and stuff a little bit, but the LIHEAP, or the LIHEAP, Low Income Energy Assistant Program,
Mhm.
eliminated. It's gone. It no longer is there. So people who need help with their utility bills or with their heating and cooling, the funding's gone. But this is where we're taking money to fund this bill from the people who need it, okay? From those who are on Social Security, who are already struggling because of the high costs that are rising across the board with with energy bills, food bills, gas. I mean, you name it. Everything is so much higher right now than it was before. And now
And the
we're going
interesting
to.
thing to me is that LIHEAP is a huge program, especially in like Pennsylvania and Indiana and Ohio,
Mhm.
um, and especially among older people, which to
Right.
me is funny because older people in the Midwest, that's Trump's base, and it's
That's
just
true.
it's
Yes.
another point of that you can another dot that you can point to and be like, look, this is he does not care about you. He has never cared about you. He says that he cares about you and he might be able to speak to the problem, but this man never actually speaks to any real solutions for you, which is important because that is not just a Trump thing. That is something you can absolutely find in any politician and any
Mhm.
pundit and any person. You have to be very careful when you're trying to decide what politician, what person you're going to listen to because they can identify correctly a problem, and oftentimes the best ones identify correctly the problem, and then they just kind of they obfuscate the actual solution. The
Right. They don't
solution to
do.
the problem of the housing crisis and the reason why you young men at younger than 40 years old can't get a house right now is actually an immigrant. It's not because of corporations and building associations who keep you from having affordable housing, right? It's actually got to be the immigrant.
Which to me is bizarre because the average home price, I think, across America is close to 450,000 or something like that. Yet in the same breath, they talk about how the immigrants are flooding our food stamp programs and all of the programs that give them money. So wait a minute, how can somebody who's on SNAP or government aid afford housing? How in the hell does that work? And at the same time, they're taking your job. So they're wait, they're taking all of our government funded programs. They're drying us up on that. They're causing high cost of housing to rise because they're moving into neighborhoods and buying homes. And
Hmm.
they're I mean, come on, Sarah. This is just I mean, and no disrespect, and I'm not talking about Tabitha's parents, okay? But you can sit and talk to Republicans and they got a problem with AI, but they'll fucking go right back in the line when they vote and vote for this motherfucker or vote for conservatives because, you know,
I
we're all
actually
a bunch of lunatics. So,
So I find the opposite, and I know this is not on topic, and I'm so sorry, just real quick. I find the opposite with AI. I find that the older generation, the Gen X and older, seem to like it and adopt it more than millennials and Gen Z. We seem to use it differently. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I guess the youngest, um, newest generation coming up seem to use it for like companionship and therapists, which is alarming as shit. But they don't really see it as anything outside of that. They're right. Maybe a homework tool. Millennials seem to be using it as a search engine. And I'll admit
mhm.
sometimes I use it as a search engine, less so now, but sometimes because Google, you're trying to say something and you're like, I don't think Google is going to understand what I'm asking for because I don't fully understand what I'm asking for.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right, right.
what am I
Right.
asking for?
Right.
But I noticed that like Gen X and boomers seem to use it for its other things. Like I my dad is in tech and I hear him walk around and talk about how, and he's Gen X, talk about how AI is going to take over everything. The AI can just make PowerPoints. The AI can just make everything for you. You don't even need to do any work. And I have seen AI make PowerPoint presentations. I've seen Jared Kushner's Board of Peace new Gaza PowerPoint presentation. You bet your ass that was made by AI.
Mhm.
Garbage, absolute garbage.
Right,
Nobody
right.
looked at that and was like, "Wow, that was a really good rendition. What architect, what artist did you go to?" That was no. We saw Chad GPT all over that, and that sucked ass. We saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you, and I'm huge, uh, uh, I'm hugely against or talk about the data centers. I absolutely do not like the direction that AI is going, and if it wasn't destroying so many different sectors of our states and our lands, our water, whatever. We've talked about this before. If it wasn't destroying so many things across the board, then I would be more accepting of it. But here's the thing, Sarah. I'm guilty of it too because I'm a 62-year-old dude, and you get enough text and stuff from me. I text like this. I'm not one of these. Okay, I'm like this. Okay, I make mistakes a lot with my spelling, and it doesn't catch it and all of that stuff. It's much easier for me to pick up my phone and hit that microphone and say, "Where's the closest Mexican restaurant?" instead of typing it in. And so I've tried to I'm trying to pull myself back from that. But I think that is where the ease in the boomer generation and the older generation comes from. My wife is all the time, I'll be sitting on the couch and I'll be talking in my phone and she'll say, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm not, I'm and
Not you, honey.
yeah, and she's in HR and she doesn't really use it and she doesn't like AI. And she doesn't use it hardly at all. I mean, period. So it's just funny. So I'm trying to correct that, but I just wanted to throw that in to kind of not to justify us old folk, but just to, give you some validation
That's
of what you're
no, that's
saying.
more acceptable than, these people I see on Facebook who are just, like, posting the wildest AI-generated photos of themselves, and I'm just like, "You poured out an
Right.
entire bottle of water and destroyed an ecosystem for that, thank you."
Yeah, just so you
Like,
can
I
have
hate to be the wet blanket, but
a kitty cat face, or whatever the hell it
right.
is. Yeah. I mean, I know it is disturbing and it's bizarre. And it's something that's here and it's something we're going to have to deal with and fight with. So, but what are we going to do? Technology is going to advance and things are going to be that way. We just have to fight what's happening and how they are going about doing it and the money that they are exploiting out of these communities or extracting out of these communities. And these communities think that they're doing these deals and that it's going to be a big win for them. And my community is, we've talked about this before too. They give these tax abatements and then they find out, oh, well, what they said they were going to do, they didn't do. And now we're set here left with the paying the bill. And that's what happens. That's why my community has one of the largest tax rates in the state and the largest gas tax in the state and so forth, is because we've abated ourselves out of, income. So it's just crazy. And that's what's happening with this bill and with this budget, military budget or whatever, you know, instead of looking at where they could actually get the money from. I mean, the big beautiful bill gave the wealthiest a $4.5 trillion. We lost $4.5 trillion in revenue because of the tax extension given to them. This is
Yeah,
1.7 trillion.
if
How do
they
you want
wanna
to pay
fund
for
that difference, if you wanna fund that difference, go ahead, tax your wealthy friends, fund the difference then.
get
I
the
mean, I still think it's
1.7
a waste
from
of
that?
fucking money, but if you wanna do it, go off.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I
let's
just
take the 1.7 out of that 4.5 trillion that you gave them, and what's that leave them? 2.8 trillion? I mean, is that not enough? I mean, but no, you got to cut the ability to give people money for housing and education. Education is getting throttled with this military budget proposals.
and the
So
thing that I keep thinking is how upsetting it is because I know Iran is saying that they're separating the American people from their government. Okay. But I think that the Iranian government, the North Korean governments, the Putins of the world, they are all just sitting and watching democracy crumble in America, and they are reveling in it. And it's hard because Democrats come and say, "Right, so democracy should be the number one issue and we should focus on saving democracy." But democracy is this weird big brained idea that nobody can really wrap their arms around, like freedom or liberty. It doesn't really, you can't really wrap your arms around that. But I can feed my family. And if I can't feed my family, I don't give a fuck about what democracy or a dictatorship or, and that sounds horrible, but that is true. It's the economy, stupid. And so, like, if we want to try to fix what is broken in our politic, if we want to try to fix what is broken about our democracy and try to get, if Democrats actually care about trying to get people to care about democracy and fixing democracy, then you have to make democracy work for people. And right now, it's not working for people when 20% of Americans want this war. 80% do not want this war.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. 80% don't want it, and we're doing it anyway. We're going
Right.
to, I bet you more than 80% of Americans do not want
Well,
to fund the military to the tune of 1.7 trillion fucking dollars. We
right.
already think that we don't spend enough at home. That's what the America First thing was about. Yes, there was a lot of other heinous shit that was behind it. It wasn't just about investing in Americans, all Americans, because you love Americans, right? There was an asterisk on who counted as American to those people. That being said, they did genuinely want to see dollars being taken from forever wars, from foreign aid, from the military, and put back into domestic issues. And on that one issue, we can agree. Now, I disagree with who they decide is American. I think if you're fucking here, you're an American, so you count. But that aside, I do just think that it is interesting that we are talking constantly. We're going to have another election cycle where we're talking about democracy being on the ballot, but you're not actually putting it down for democracy the way that you should. You're having rallies about this loose termed idea that people can't understand. Well, I can't pay my bills. I can't buy groceries. I'm still buying groceries on fucking credit cards. I can't pay my AES bill. I'm watching property taxes go up. So sure, my mortgage might not have gone up, but it did because property taxes went up. And so now I'm
Right.
being priced out of the fucking home that I thought I
Mm-hmm.
could afford in a community that I wanted to be in for the schools for my children, but I can't afford that anymore. And it's not because my money is
Your
going to
home
the
alone,
fucking
your
schools.
mortgage may not have gone up, but the taxes have gone up, the heating and cooling
Right.
bills have gone up, the water bill has
Yep.
gone up, the sewage bill has gone. I mean, it's across the board.
Exactly.
So when you put all those things together, that's where the increase occurs. And this budget that he's proposing, people have to keep in mind, most of these cuts that they're included in here are to agencies and programs that have already received massive cutbacks from the big beautiful bill or the big ugly ass bill. So this is cuts on top of cuts. So we're taking programs that were once like this and we're reducing them all the way down to here while we're taking the trillionaire or the billionaires in this country and we're just saying here, you don't have to pay us shit. We're going to extend your tax break. So it's I I don't know, Sierra. It's just so hard to understand and accept, and it makes my soul hurt, and I just wish that we were in this position right now. Um, and you know, I know that we have to get new people in office, but fuck, you know, we look at the shit that's going on, and it just where's our help? Where are they? They're not going to step up and do what needs to be done. So. Oh, it's just
I don't want to
depressing.
sound like a doomer and be like, well,
I
we
don't
can't
either.
vote our way out of this, but like,
Right.
we're going to have to
We
do
have
more than
to.
just vote. We're going to have to
Yeah,
do more than just like, if voting
exactly.
has to be like the bare minimum thing that you do. Because like if we're just, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, we'll just vote our way out of this. Like the bar is in hell. If that's what you
Mhm.
think this is gonna take, the bar is in hell. Like I don't see.
Yeah, you look at the people that we have in office or a lot of those in our state that are running for office, and it's like, I can't bring myself to vote for some of these people because once I find out about them and who they are and where they're taking money from and what they stand for, it's not going to be a solution. It's not going
Mhm.
to be anything that's going to
And then they
rectify
come
any
to
of
you and
this.
say, "Well, I will help. I will get money out of politics, but I'm going to do so by taking money from corporate donors and billionaires and also denouncing some kind of
Right,
resolution that would say,
right,
AIPAC shouldn't be putting money into our primaries." I mean,
right.
your elections are auctions at this point. I mean, I understand that it takes money to win elections, but I hate that this logic is what we do. We just say it. You just
It
say
it
that line
shouldn't.
and don't think
Yeah,
critically about that and
and that
understand that it
justifies it.
should not take millions of dollars to run a Senate campaign, millions of
Right.
fucking dollars. That is insane. We could
Yeah,
feed people with that. We could
exactly.
clothe people with that. But we're not going to do any of that. Instead, we're going to run TV ads
Mhm.
and bus bench signs. Like, these are antiquated things. These aren't even fucking, what do you spend $12 million on a
I
fucking
know.
campaign? Like, where does this money even go for these Senate campaigns and things when they tell you these giant price tags of even like a governor's campaign, like a
Mhm.
governor race taking
Mhm.
like $1 million to run? Like,
Mhm.
wh- who is doing this? Who is
Right.
able to run for these positions when it looks this way? When we have the DNC saying that we're going to continue to take APAC dollars and Israel dollars, we are good with corporate dollars. How can I believe that you're going to actually try to get money out of politics and try to help try to help write legislation that would regulate these very industries that you're taking money from? Like, yes, we really do have a fentanyl crisis in America. There is a problem, an opioid epidemic in America. Trump was exactly right with that. Is it what he says it is entirely? No, because he takes a little nugget of truth and twists it into something sinister and racist so that it almost sounds right. But it's not migrants bringing fentanyl in over the
No.
border. It is the Sackler family who is
Mhm.
continuing to get these fucking pills produced and continuing
Exactly.
to pay kickbacks to doctors who will prescribe it and turn their practices into pill mills.
Mhm. Yeah. It's been
And then they
proven
get
that
fined,
it's
and then they get
American
fined, and they're
citizens
allowed to
that are
keep
bringing
making money
the drugs
off of
in,
it.
so yeah,
Like, that's the thing
yeah,
that dumbfounds me, is that the Sacklers got found guilty and then they got fined and told that they could produce more opioids and more fentanyl
yeah,
to help pay for the fucking, oh my god, for the
yeah.
settlement. Like,
It's
that's
it's
America.
it's it's asinine, it's ridiculous, it's crazy, and I just gotta go back. I am so sick of hearing it takes money to win campaigns. I'm so fucking sick of hearing that. You know, we're being shown right in our faces, we're being shoved a military budget bill by a guy they call the no war presidents, who was going to make everything better and was going to put America first. Well, evidently it takes money to win over a democracy or to preserve a democracy or whatever the fuck he thinks he's trying to do, which is just bizarre. So I don't know. I know
I
we
think
got
it's
off
crazy.
track a little bit, and
I just think
we
it's crazy that politicians say it takes money to win
yeah,
campaigns and they'll take it. So it takes money to win wars. It takes money for national security. It never takes money for childcare. Instead,
right.
we get this asshole standing at a podium going, childcare, it's not for us. We don't do childcare. The states do
Yeah, it's the
childcare.
states.
Why do you
Yeah,
want
we can't
childcare?
afford
Who
it.
needs childcare? You get
Yeah,
nannies. Each kid has a nanny.
yeah.
Fuck off.
It's
Like,
draining our economy. It's creating debt. Fuck it.
right, exactly.
It's
This
like,
man, I mean,
oh.
we're just $1.7 trillion. All of our taxes are going to go to just the military, and instead of benefiting us in any way. And this is why Americans hate taxes. You hate taxes because you do not get a quality return on investment. Like, not to sound like Jon Stewart, but you hate taxes because you get taxed to bomb children in the Middle East instead of
Hmm.
getting taxed to send your child to school or
Yeah.
feed your child a free lunch at school.
Yep. Yep. It's crazy. It's absolutely bizarre. It will never make sense to any of us, that you have to look at the facts, okay? And I know we're wrapping up here and everything, but our deficit is increasing at a rate never seen before in our nation's history, okay? This dude right here, from his first time and now this regime, is nearing being responsible for over 30% of all of the debt that this nation has accumulated since its birth. One dude, 30%. That is, to me, that right there shows you he has no fucking idea what he's doing. And his goal is to help the wealthy and the oligarchs in this country like himself. But, who am I? I just
That doesn't even surprise me because I feel like I
Yeah,
saw in February or March the debt was at 39 trillion. I just looked the other day, it was like 42 trillion.
right.
And I just thought, holy shit, from April to like from February to April. All right. Yeah, that sounds right. I mean,
Yeah,
of course, because
crazy.
I mean,
It's crazy.
Tupac was
So
right. We
let's
have
just
money
add
for
to it.
war, but not to feed the poor. So,
Yeah, because they're saying this military budget right here is instantly going to add over 2 trillion to the debt just as soon as it's, you know. So that's the way it
and of
happens.
course, we had to scream about the debt when it was, Obamacare. You're going to add to the
Well,
debt. You can't
it's
give people
yeah,
health care. You're going to add to the debt. And always with the debt and the deficit hawks as soon as it's in a Democratic administration. But when it's a
they
Republican and the Office of Management and Budget comes out and is like, so this will add $200
yeah.
trillion. This is going to blow that shit out the water. They're like, nothing to see here, you guys. We have to
Well,
do it.
they're the one thing they are great about is deflection and projection. That's the two things that I should say that they are pretty damn good at. So because it's always the Democrats and they always put blame on us when you look at the data, it's actually you fucking Republicans that
Uh-huh,
cause all
there's a
this
lot of
shit. So
blame for Democrats. I
yeah,
mean, there's a lot of
yeah,
blame to go around. However, the data does show that every time the debt goes up, it is under a Republican president
Republican.
that
Uh-huh.
it goes significantly up. I mean,
And what else
fiscally
is it that
conservative.
occurs more under Republicans recently than anything else? Oh, I know, wars. So, you know,
Did you see that JD Vance is trying to posture himself right now as being against this war? He's not for it. He wants to try to separate himself from this so that when he runs inevitably in 2028, he can be like, "See, I was always against that war.
fuck
I was
JD.
the lone man in this fucking administration who
Yeah.
didn't want it." And I
Well,
think
the thing
that is
w
so
the
interesting because I can't wait until somebody whispers in Trump's ear and tells him, "This is what Vance is doing and this is why he's trying to
yeah.
take your movement." Because the moment that happens, they tried to hang Mike Pence, bro. They tried to
Mhm.
hang his last VP. You're
Yeah.
gonna come in and say, "Actually, I disagree with him. I disagree with Daddy Trump. I think that it should be different, and I'm gonna run and take over his movement." Oh, Prophet's not dead yet, dude. He's gonna annihilate you when he finds out. I
Yeah.
mean,
He's still breathing
RIP,
enough to where he can get shit done. I mean,
unfortunately.
hopefully that's gonna come to an end soon, but hey, so well, so I think we did our job here, didn't we? Talking about the $1.7 trillion military. We didn't dive into it as deep as what we maybe should have, but hey, it's hard to get the information on all of this that's
They have
out
a
there.
concept of a plan. There is no
Uh-huh.
plan, just a concept of
Uh,
a plan.
but the bottom line is this is to create, some ungodly military force that we need. I guess because we're pissing everybody off and they're afraid that, we're going to start feeling some retaliation or something. And the only way that they know how to fund it is to rape us more from, services and needs and agencies and, environmental protection and education and all those things because there's no money anywhere else that they can find. So I hope that we made it make
Made it
sense to
made
you
sense.
today. We tried to do that. I mean, it's hard though because we talk about this. It doesn't even we can't even make it make sense to ourselves sometimes. But we're going to really continue to try to make it make sense for all of you. So thanks for joining us. Give us a follow, a like, hit that little bell that tells you that we posted something. Leave us a comment because we love to talk. So until next time, I'm Kurt.
I'm Sierra. And Tabitha says bye.
Tabitha says bye. And join us next time for Make It Make Sense. Have a great day.